Here we have the United States Code annotated. Every law that Congress passes ends up in here. As you see in chart 5.1, there are 4 steps to researching in here. First, we're going to look at the general index. Second, we're going to look at the main volume of the statutory publication, so where that law actually is. Third, we're going to look in the pocket part of the main volume, and then 4, we're going to look in a supplement pamphlet that appears at the end of the set. You can see that next to circle number 4 there. Okay, so step 1, we are going to look in the general index. I grabbed J2R because I want to go for the bullseye, which is parity. We'll open it up and look in, and as you can see there, parity is not there. It should be after parochial and before parole, but it's not there. So I'm going to grab the other general index, volume A to C, to look up something a little more broad, like copyrights. So we look up copyrights in the general index, and sure enough, there it is. Now the 17 section 101, that tells us that we can find statutes on copyrights in Title 17 section 101. And we've seen that before when we did our background research. But we want to look for stuff that focuses just on parity. You know, perhaps there's a statute that defines parity or tells us whether what we have is a parity. So we'll look under defenses. That doesn't yield anything. So on the other page here, we'll look under fair use. That's a little more broad than parity. And there we have our Title 17, Section 107. We've seen that before. So seeing it again here after doing our background research gives us confidence that we're finding everything that there is to be found on this topic. But I also want to go for the bullseye here and just look for parity under copyright, and it's not there. So this gets us to step 2. We now know that there's really only one section on fair use, and that would be that Title 17 107. So we'll go to step 2, and we'll pull the volume that has Title 17. You can see from the spine of the book there that this has Title 17 in it, Section 107. So we will open this up and look at that section, and there it is. Now you remember we did this online. We looked at the same section in Chapter 4 on the government's website, the printing office's website. Okay, but we're really interested in the annotations here because the actual statutory section on fair use doesn't define parity, so we'll use the annotations. And you can see that we have cross-references here, nothing on parity, and then on the next page we have law review and journal commentaries. You can see there are quite a few articles on Campbell, that seminal case. That tells us it is a landmark case. It has to go into our memo. All right, let's turn the page here and look at the notes of decisions. Those are 3 key words, notes of decisions. In this section, you'll find all of the cases that interpret this section 107. And now this is we're looking at the table of contents to those cases. We want to find the section on parities. So we'll turn the page here and we'll keep scanning the table of contents for cases that interprets. See, we have here obscenity and then out of print, and then we have parity. So let's zoom in here to parity. And you see here we have the sections 108 to 115. That means that within these notes of decisions, sections 108 to 115 include references to cases on parity. So here we have Campbell, and then we have that Fisher versus Dees. We've seen that before, but it's really old. It's from 1986. I don't know about really old, but it's older than Campbell, and so we don't want to use that unless we really have to. Okay, so we'll scan here our other sections. There's Campbell again. We're not seeing a whole lot on point. So we'll try the other page here, and there's nothing on point there either. So this gets us to step 3. We now want to look for cases that have been published since this volume was published. Now this volume was published in, let's look at the first page, in July of 2005. So we want to find cases that were published after July of 2005. And to do that, we look in the pocket part. So I'm using this arrow here to show you the pocket part. It's literally a pamphlet that is stuck in a pocket in the book. You should really get up and go look at the United States Code Annotated and just grab any volume and look at this. It's pretty cool. It's like a little marsupial pouch. Okay, so the pocket part we're going to look at here was published in April of 2012. So that means we can find in this pocket part all cases from July of 2005 to 2012. So let's go to our section 107, the fair use section, and we'll scan it here. We're looking for those sections 108 to 115 again. So we'll turn the page. They're not here. And we see that sections 108 and 109 aren't here, but 1010 is. And we can see there's Brown Mark, Burnett. Nothing really on point. We've seen all of these before in our background research. But then here we have Born, and that's a song we really like. That's where the Family Guy folks changed the words to When You Wish Upon a Star, but they kept the music largely. That's exactly our case, and in that case it was found to be a parody. So we know for sure we're going to use that. Now here's a little lesson when you're researching in print. Everything about parody was not in those sections 108 to 115. I scanned the entire table of contents for the notes of decisions, and I found this section 233, parody effective use on market, and that led me to Henley. And remember, we saw that Henley case in the Nimmer Treatise. That's the one where the guy redid some Don Henley songs to be political, what turned out to be satires instead of parodies. But the facts are very similar to ours, so I think we're going to end up using that in the end. Okay, so now we're up to date as to April of 2012. So now we'll go to step 4, which is where we look in the pamphlet supplement at the end. Now I'm not actually going to pull this and go through it just to save time. But just know, if you need to research in the USCA, of course you go through all 4 steps and use a librarian if you need to. Okay, well, I want to show you one last thing about the United States Code Annotated and about any statutory publication. If you know the popular name of an act, like say the Patriot Act or the IRS Code or the Copyright Act, but you don't know the actual title and section number, you can take that act, like the Tariff Act or something, take that name into the popular name table and it will tell you what title and section number it is. So we can look up copyrights, and here it tells us that we'll find it in Title 17, Section 101, at sec meaning there are many sections after it. Okay, so quick review. To research in the United States Code Annotated, we're going to follow the 4 steps in Chart 5.1, which is to first use the general index, then go to the main volume, then the pocket part, and then the pamphlet supplement at the end of the set. And as an alternative, if you just know the popular name of an act, then you could go right to the popular name table. Okay, back to the workbook.